Welcome back to the Nightlife Podcast, Season 3 and episode, let's say 7, but I think it's more like 8. I'm not 100% sure. And today we are back here from Barracuda in Coconut Grove, where we just had last week's interview with Lee Kessler, the owner. We say hello to you, Lee, and thank you for having us one more time. Today I am going to interview someone who I met recently in the industry and who's been around for a while actually, but we just haven't been, worked in the same venues until very recent. And my friend now, welcome. Mercedez.
Hi, how are you guys?
The show after. I've heard more than one name for you, so I don't know which one is the real. There you go. So Mercedez has been in the industry for a while. You have done different things.
Close to almost 10 years on and off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the past 10 years, by the way, guys, I always forget. Remember to get the book on Amazon. Thank you to LMG for being our sponsor, and remember to find me online at the Nightlife Entrepreneur on Instagram, and you find all the episodes at nightlifepodcast.com. All right. What are your handles?
Just Instagram.
Just Instagram, which is?
Mercy's Night 9.
There you go.
Yes.
We'll put it down here so you guys can find her. All right, so you were saying you've been around for the past 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
You've done a few different things.
Yes, I have. Mostly on the beach.
Okay.
Started taking pictures, then became a dancer. Then I got hired with a marketing group to the guest list, and from there I just kept on going up to being a coordinator, VIP host, name it. Mostly the front door.
Okay. All right, so today we are going to talk mostly about the front door and your job at the front door and working with the venue owners, promoters, dealing with promoters, reservations, staff, clientele, that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest things, the difference between working on South Beach, a big, South
big
Beach,
difference.
yeah,
Very big
and
difference.
working on the other side of the bridge over here on Brickell, which is where we actually met. Actually, we are today here in the Grove, which is also very different. I don't know if you have ever worked over here.
Never worked on this side.
This is very different. We had an interview for last week's podcast with the owner of this venue, and this is a whole, don't you feel like you're
It's a chill vibe. Yeah,
it's
very
whole,
chill vibe.
yeah. One thing that we don't get in the nightlife, right?
Not at all.
Anymore. That's one of the first things I want to talk about. Why is it that it doesn't feel like it's just one team working together? Don't you get that? Not everywhere probably, but
I would think that it's kind of like that, but it's not.
okay.
Going into Brickell, it's brand new to me. It's kind of the same concept, just different. It's just different. It's new.
So what would you say is the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is at the beach, they have a lot of control at the door. There's a lot. The door dominates. I feel like it's the majority of the control has to be starting at the door.
Got it.
And then into the club. Brickell, I feel like it's more lenient.
Right.
At the door. I don't feel like it's stricter,
Right.
strict.
So I would think that one of the main reasons that this happens is because on South Beach, you have the tourism, you have a lot of promoters that are in-house promoters hired by the venue, and you have a club owner, club manager, and VIP host that pretty much handle all of the reservations, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to Brickell, you have a promoting company that partners with the club on one specific night.
Yes.
Usually they don't bring any extra promoters for in-house or any of that kind of stuff because it's very, very close. Especially the niches are very different.
It's kind of like a closed network.
It's a very
of
close network.
promoters.
Yeah, I can tell you from our parties, if I am there physically at one of the parties, as I have been lately, for example, I can tell you 100% who sat at what table and whose client that was, which is something that if you are the door, you would normally know.
Yeah.
At the beach or kind of stuff. But normally promoters don't really know that. If you ask a promoter at the end of the night, where was everybody? Or a week later, I could probably tell you, like from a month back, like I remember that guy was here, he spent this much, and that other one sat over there. He was wearing the hat. The other one was, all that kind of stuff. But it is very, very complicated to understand. Like I don't get it. Why in one city things could be so different from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge? Like what do you think makes that so different? Like,
I'm still trying to understand that. I'm still trying to like figure it out.
Right.
Because I haven't even been on this side, so I'm wondering like, okay, how is it on this side then?
Right. So let me ask you something. What is, when somebody talks about being a VIP host,
Yes.
what is the job? What is exactly what you do?
Okay, so when I hear VIP host, to me, that is not a person that just you're walking in the table like a regular Hooters or a restaurant that they're just taking it. To me, a VIP host,
Which
job,
is more of a hostess.
hostess, yes. To me, a VIP host is strictly there to book tables. That is your job. It's a sales-based position. So when I think of VIP host, I think of sales. Sales. Your job is to book tables all day, every week.
Got it. So does a VIP host, because it's more of what happens on the beach, what you're saying. Currently, a VIP host in the Brickell area, I can tell you that does not bring one client usually, unless the VIP host has been there for a while and gets contacts, from the clients that already come in, and then brings them back. But they still, something that they try not to do is like bring them back on any other night that it's not the promoter that originally brought that person. It's just because Brickell, you don't have like a base clientele.
It's a lot of locals.
It's locals, but it's also like you can go to a venue on Friday and then on Saturday and it'll be a completely different crowd, a completely different vibe, a completely different,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very, very music-wise, everything it could be different.
Sure can.
So it's very hard for a VIP host to bring people back on a different night because that client that came on a Saturday may not like what's going on Thursday. So, and then promoters are very selfish and jealous of what they bring to the table. They don't want to share with the club or with the VIP host or with the staff or whatever. It gets very complicated in that sense. I'm very open to sharing clientele. One of the reasons is because I'd rather have those people experience different things and have myself concentrate on giving the best experience possible for them. So if a client, I bring a client to a venue and they come in on a different night because somebody else invited them. Let's say that somebody else is a VIP host who I introduced to my client. Mm-hmm. And they bring them back on a different night because they have a huge event, artists, whatever, and they come on that night. I have to make sure that the next time that client comes to me, I give them a better experience than whatever they could have had on the other night. So that's my job as a promoter. So it makes it a little competition, per se.
Yeah, I dealt with that a lot.
Share it, but I have to be able to share it. I shouldn't be like complaining like, why are you talking to my client, or why are you?
But it
not?
does happen. It does happen.
It happens.
I dealt with that a lot, dealing with promoters, that they would
Right.
come up to me and be like, hey, can you do something? And I'm like,
Right. So
really can't do anything.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you right now. We are being seen all over the world,
yes.
but most of the people that are on the other side of that, right there, are promoters.
Yeah?
Yes.
Hi, guys.
So those guys, that some of them understand, some of them don't. They're just beginning. They're very selfish of their clients, and they want to make sure that nobody takes them away, which I understand in a way. There's a little bit of that. I think what people need to understand is that we are one team. If you work for the venue, and some promoters are the venue's partner during that night. Some promoters work for the venue. I think that's one of the main differences there. One of the
With
parts.
South Beach and Brickell?
Yeah, like understanding the difference. Like we've been on the beach also.
I'm used to being with both. I'm used to working
Right.
one night and having both a promotional group and in-house.
Right.
All at the same time. Like,
Yeah,
can get a little hectic.
it is hectic.
Very, very
We've done
hectic.
that when we're on the beach. We've done that on the beach, and we've done it a few times. That's why we always end up back on this side, because for us, this way is more what we are used to, I guess. You know, as a matter of fact, I could, like every venue in Brickell, I could tell you exactly like who their VIP host is, and they're not really a VIP host the way you mentioned what a VIP host should be. You know?
Yeah, it's a big difference. I'm having a little trouble with that.
Right.
With placing myself.
Okay.
We gotta meet somewhere in between. So.
True that. So, what do you think should be the first change in order for promoters and I guess staff, because VIP host is part of the staff from the venue.
Or are you talking more about like the merging from the different locations?
Well, the thing is this, I don't think people are working together.
Definitely not.
You know what I mean? I don't think everybody's working either for themselves and thinking about themselves only, or thinking about how do I kiss ass to the owner.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's a whole thing about the owner and make sure that the owner sees that I'm the shit and I'm the one that brings all this and
Yeah.
And it's just like, to me, it's hilarious. I mean, I've been on both sides. I've been the owner. I've been the promoter. I know exactly how everybody operates. I've seen all the different kinds of people and the way some people are mean to others and the way some people try to bring others down. You know what I mean? It just sucks.
I think that's horrible.
But how do you start breaking that?
I think the first step is like everybody has to work really, really hard on communication.
Okay.
And putting their everybody has their own opinion, and I think at one point it has to be put aside.
Right.
You know, for the team, you got to listen to everyone. Because if you listen just to yourself and what your person is saying, what this person is saying, and then half of the team is on a different page, then you're just gonna crash.
Right.
It's gonna crash. Everybody like agrees to disagree. I feel the most of the time.
Right. So what would you say to a promoter? You know, all these guys that are there looking at you right now and trying to. What would you say to a promoter when they want to know how do I deal with you? Who, you know, you are the VIP host, the VIP, you know, manager, host, whatever you want to call it. I have my clients. I don't want to lose them to you, right? I don't want to lose, you know, being the, you know, the main person, the guy that's bringing all these clients, the big guy. I want to make sure that the owners know, because that's how they feel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
want to get the credit. I don't want to lose the credit.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say to them? Like, what?
To me, it's all about communicate. Like I said, communication. Communicate with the front door. Communicate with the person doing the reservations. It's all about it. Because if you have bad communication with, I think, anyone at the front door, this is gonna make it so much more difficult for you.
It is the first impression.
Yes, it is. Like if you can be like, hey, you know, how are you? Like, this is my client. He's a VIP. Versus like, oh, this is my client. He's a VIP. What's up? You know, it's like, okay, you know, you kind of come in with that attitude and you're gonna get pushed to the side, even if you have a you know, your biggest VIP.
Correct.
Versus somebody else.
So you said something at the beginning that makes a lot of sense. The front door.
Yes.
Is what controls most of the nightlife at the beach. Meaning, you know, it has more of the power of being able to say, okay, these are the people that get in. These are the people that are gonna sit here or there. These people, or let's say, these promoters get credit for this or that. These guys are not gonna get in. Different, like, even this guy's gonna spend this much, at least. So you could overspend inside. So there's a lot of say at the front door.
A lot.
Do you think that the front door is given the respect that it deserves when it comes to that?
I think it. Well. We're gonna separate the two.
It all really depends on which side of the bridge you're talking about. And we're talking about Miami here. I mean, this is different anywhere else.
To me, I think if you're over the bridge, yes, the door does get the respect. Like at the beach, that's like your command center. It's your you know, the control system there.
Right.
They do get the respect. Maybe on the other side, it's like a 50-50. I don't think so. I don't think it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What kind of communication do you usually have with the promoters on the beach that you don't have with the promoters on this side of the beach?
The promoters on the beach are much more, I would say, disciplined. Disciplined because they have to go through a system. So they have to communicate, because if you missed anything in that communication, it can go wrong in so many different ways. With your client, with your table, with your girls, it could just go wrong. You can lose a table, you can lose a client, you can lose your spot. You have to communicate. So I feel like the promoters are always like letting the front door know, whether it's a host, a manager, a director, what's going on with their client.
When you're doing this, does that mean texting? Got it.
Texting.
All right, no. I want to make sure, because some people are listening and not watching.
Yeah.
But you're talking about texting because, and I want to mention this because a lot of promoters love being at the door, physically being at the door. That's something that we try our best that it doesn't happen, but it's super hard. And they will always, like, you tell a promoter over and over, I don't want you at the door, and they always answer the same, but my client. And you always say the same, yeah, but he doesn't need to, and there's somebody there, and just say her name and ask for, and da-da-da-da-da. And we explain 1,000 times, and they still do it.
They're stubborn, very stubborn.
Right. And it's kind of like they see the main promoters, and they go, well, if they're there, I want to do the same kind of thing also. So I think main promoters should set the example. If you are a main promoter and you're throwing a party, it's your party, and I've heard a lot of you say, hey, it's my party, and like, I do as I want to, cry if I want. So the point is, you gotta set the example. You gotta lead by example. If you want your sub promoters to not be at the door, you gotta be the first one inside, taking care of your clients and making sure you have that, text, that communication with the front door as to, by the way, Pedro is coming and he's gonna ask for Mercedes, please let him in. He's coming with 3 friends, or he's gonna get anything. Normally it's a chat, A chat is a chat in France. But even if sometimes the chat is, like there's too many people there, whatever, you may have private text with the person or whatever.
Something.
But I do agree that communication is key when it comes to the front door, VIP, reservations, just saying everything that you have, but that ahead of time, not waiting for that last minute. I mean, there's another thing. A lot of people have reservations, sometimes promoters, and they don't bring them to the table because they think, oh, this is like 80% sure that they're coming.
No, it should be in the system at all times.
At all times, I agree. And they might show up, maybe they don't, but we have a certain time, where you cut that off, which is something some promoters don't understand.
I mean, usually, like, if it's really busy,
right,
then we give you an option. If your client is not here by 1, we got to sell a table. Mm-hmm. If it's not so busy, then we'll leave it there because there's availability. So he can show up at 3 a.m. and we'll still give him the table.
Right.
So if it's too busy, yes, you have a time frame cut off. Sorry.
Right. So yeah, that's something you guys should understand too. You have a table, you have a reservation, and they sell that table because your client didn't show up at before that certain time that you should already know that exists. Don't complain about it. Ask your client to be there early next time. I mean, it's that simple, that easy. Now, there's ways. You could always have, the client pay ahead of time or down payment on the table, whatever. There's different ways where you can actually separate and actually give information, like credit card information, so that reservation is already kind of paid for. In case if the client does not show up, you still get to charge them at least some percentage of whatever they RSVP'd, because you do lose the real estate. And the reality is that in this industry, we are selling real estate inside. I mean, each table is a piece of real estate, and it has a price. That's one of the difference between the beach and Brickell Soup. I mean, when it comes to the minimums and the real estate,
big difference there.
Yeah, but it's a reality. You do get a lot of big spenders at the beach that you might get in other areas.
Even local. A lot of them are local.
Yeah, it's not 100% tourism. It's also locals for sure. I actually think most tourism is more GA. Most of the tourism, you get a lot of big ones that arrive, but the big spenders are usually local. The ones that stay around the longest. And the ones that you get to come back all the time and all that kind of stuff, it's usually a local clientele. But on the beach, it's a lot easier to say, so if you want to be in this area, it's $3,000 and up, and then in this area, it's $1,500 and up, like that. In Brickell, you got to play it by ear a lot.
There's a lot of negotiation.
Yeah, it really depends on what's happening inside. Everybody shows up and goes, I want to see how it is. Let me go check it out. My friend's in there. Then let me see if I'm going to get the table. So it's not really like a pre-booked 100% of the tables kind of thing. So it already depends on how it is in your area. But try to get as many as you can pre-booked. Make sure you know what time they need to be there, so that they don't lose their table. And make sure you communicate with the door staff, with specifically mainly with the VIP manager. Dude, like, it's that easy. Now let me ask you a little bit on the other side too, before we go, because this is a quick episode,
yes,
and I know you didn't even feel the time that you've been here probably. We've talked about the communication with promoters.
Yes.
Door. But what about communication with the owners?
Communication with the owners. I mean, there's different...
As a VIP host, do you normally deal with ownership or with management?
Maybe a little bit of both, because you have sometimes like what they call an absent owner.
Right.
Whereas he's just the owner of the club, and he's just not really too much involved, and you have to deal with management.
Correct.
So I've had both. And sometimes it's even if you have the owner present all the time, it's like the chain of command. You just don't jump to the owner.
Right.
So it could be tricky. It could be overwhelming sometimes of who do you go to when you need something.
Right.
But I sometimes rather go directly to the owner.
Correct. I understand. I mean, I'm gonna give my piece on that one also. When it comes to the sub promoters or the promoters, the main promoter, anybody that's throwing a party, you guys have to make sure that you abide by the club rules, meaning chain of command. You gotta follow it. If you have a reservation, it's very likely that you have to send it to the VIP host, VIP manager. There's usually there's gonna be a chat for that, specifically for your night, for your event, that is gonna have that person and whoever needs to be there from your group, right? If that venue has a manager, most likely that GM is gonna want you to communicate with them. As a promoter, whatever, you guys most likely have to communicate with that manager. Now, if the venue does not have a manager, you only have an owner, and that's the one person you talk to. If the venue has an owner and a manager, which is what most venues have, it's both, that's where the issues begin. Because you jump that manager, and there's always a reason for, oh, I didn't know. You didn't tell me, you told him. He didn't tell me. And point fingers, and that does not work. You could come up with a great idea and tell it to the wrong person, and it never happens. Or even, it may even happen on a different night that's not yours, because you mentioned it and they were like, oh, you know what? I heard this thing. Was that you? No. Oh, let's do it. You know what I mean? So many different things could happen. But mostly, the owners have a lot in their minds. Even if the owners are not only invested in this, because a lot of owners have other shit going on, even if it's not just this that they're doing, it is still a lot of shit that's going on.
Absolutely.
They are worried about paying the bills, and believe me, the overhead is huge. So go to the manager, go to the GM, make sure you have a good relationship with the GM, and you shouldn't have any issues.
Always.
With your reservations, with your front door, hosts, whatever. And the last question is, what about the doorman? Who really runs the door? Is it the doorman, the VIP host? Is it the hostess? Is it the promoter?
The
or is
doorman?
it who's the person at the door that is the boss?
Oh, I mean, past the door or behind the door?
No, at the door. So you arrive at a venue.
When you get to the ropes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the doorman is very, very, very important, because that's where people start asking, how much is the table, and how much is this, and who's playing tonight, and you have to know that information. If you're gonna be at the door, I think you have to. It's very important for you to know how to do sales.
Right.
And try to negotiate your way around that.
Correct. So a doorman should be informed about everything else that's going on
Absolutely.
inside. Should not just be one.
No,
Doorman should not be a security guard
no.
who's simply
You
opening
should
the
have
door.
it. To me, you should have a
asking for an ID.
doorman and an ID guy. Doorman is
Very
always there.
different.
Hey, how are you? How many people are you? You know, what are you interested in? You
Right.
know, figure out if they're locals or they're tourists,
Right.
because that is very important too. You know where to place them at.
Correct.
You know, if you'll get stuck at the door. I've had that issue, or the doorman didn't have experience. You got stuck at the door. I was at the door the night, so
Right. What do you rather have? Doorman, door girl?
doorman,
Doorman.
doorman.
What is that? The reason why?
It's a man.
It's a man. There
It's
you go.
more. I don't know. It's just
More
different.
about
look.
respect, or maybe
It's just it looks more of an authority.
more like a doorman.
You know, more like a. You know, if you see a girl, I think it would be easier.
What do you rather see?
Door girl. I mean, if you're gonna have a door girl, I don't have anything a door girl because I've been at the door. It has to be someone with intense attitude.
Yeah, you gotta have the personality to be at the
very
front.
intense. You gotta be, equipped for people to call you everything
Right.
and be mad at you and tell you off.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're just gonna start crying
Correct.
and walk away and say, I don't want to do this anymore.
True. No,
So-
it is true, and I've seen the crime, by the way.
I believe it. So I've
Have
had IDs thrown at me, names called. I've had promoters kicked out because they're too drunk. You know,
Right.
it's like you have to have a stomach for that. So that's why I always prefer a door man,
True.
or he can, be like, no. I said no. Bye.
All right. So you tell me the doorman is very important, has a very important job. It should be a man. Your opinion, but you still don't tell me who's the boss
Oh, who's the boss?
at the door.
Okay, so the boss I think would be
So one person has to
the
be able to
manager
say-
outside. The manager outside, whether it's a manager or director, whatever you want to call that person, should be the one. That's how I've seen it.
Right.
You have your doorman, you have your cashier girl, you have your podium girl, and then you have your host.
Correct.
There's always a manager outside to say, okay, no, this is when it's going to be done. Like to take the final
Right.
decision on that. I think it should be the manager.
Okay. There you go. So it's not the doorman, it's not the VIP host, it's not the promoter, it's not the hostess, it's another manager.
It's the manager that's assigned to be outside, whoever that may be.
You know, we just need to make it,
Just
easy
gotta
for
meet
everybody.
somewhere in between, guys. That's all.
There you go. There you go. Guy, so anyway, thank you so much for coming all the way over here. I know you drove like 45 hours from Wichita, but we wanted to hear from you. We've been wanting to interview somebody from the door and somebody who's had a little experience on both sides of the bridge, because people do not realize how different things could be in one city. Imagine how different it could be for you guys in Australia or in Canada or in South Africa. Things do change a lot.
A lot.
And it's going to change according to the way the owner sees the business, the manager sees the business, the staff sees the business, the promoters see the business, the kind of clientele you get. It's just huge. But the main thing that I believe is that you all have to be one family, in one page, in one direction, and make sure you're all working together for the same purpose. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you for coming. Again, they can follow you where?
At Mercy's Night 9.
There you go. We'll put it down there if you can find it.
You guys are gonna get it.
And remember,
messed up.
you get the book on Amazon. Thanks to LMG for sponsoring the podcast. You got all the episodes at nightlifepodcast.com, and you can follow me at Nightlife Entrepreneurs on Instagram. See you guys next week.